You're standing in a room so quiet, you can hear the breath of power itself. The air smells like polished wood, fresh ink, the kind of expensive silence that makes people whisper. The man across the table just finished offering you everything. Title, salary, legacy, and he's smiling like you already said yes. Most people would kill to be here. You can't stop thinking about how heavy the door felt when you walked in. Like something was warning you. This is the moment, the kind of scene they put in movies. Only here, there's no orchestral swell, no tight zoom into your eyes. Just a question hanging in the air, and you standing there, heart annoyingly calm. The offer on the table isn't just a job. It's validation. It's revenge on everyone who underestimated you. It's freedom, but something about that smells wrong. You can feel your old self tugging at your sleeve. The version of you that used to fantasize about this exact moment. The applause. The approval. But now that it's here, that dream feels like an old coat you outgrew without noticing. People don't walk away from this. That's the unspoken rule. You're not supposed to want less. But you do. And suddenly, you remember something Marcus Aurelius once wrote. Ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions. Your mouth opens. You speak calmly. No hesitation. Just clarity. You say no. And for a moment, nobody moves. You walk out, and the door shuts with a click that echoes louder than any applause. The silence behind you is deafening, but honest. Now you're outside, walking slowly. No entourage. No headlines. Just your shoes scraping against the gravel and a weight falling off your chest. Not regret. Just space. Freedom that tastes unfamiliar, like it was stored away in a jar all these years. You sit on a bench, watching people hurry by, each one with their own hunger, their own imagined finish lines. It hits you, most of them don't even know what they're chasing anymore. A couple walks past arguing about something tiny, like what coffee to buy. You're not better than them, but you're not rushing anymore. You're not in a hurry to be admired. There's a kind of sorrow to this moment. Not sadness, more like grief for the version of you that used to believe power would save you. That it would somehow stitch the holes in your soul shut. It wouldn't. It couldn't. Seneca once warned, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." You remember craving. Not food, not sex, not things. You crave to matter. And now, walking away feels like the first time you told that craving to shut up and sit down. But this isn't a triumph. It's not heroic. It's a quiet, awkward, lonely start. Like moving into an empty apartment and hearing how loud your own breath is. And then there's the fear, the quiet one. Not fear of failure, but fear that maybe you just made a mistake too big to fix. What if no one ever calls again? What if power doesn't circle back? What if your moment already happened, and you walked right past it? You look up. The sky is overcast, not dramatic. You expect some cosmic sign, some confirmation. But nothing happens. Just a bird flying past. You remember a quote you once scribbled into a notebook, maybe from Cleanthes or maybe you made it up. To walk away is not weakness. It is a refusal to be owned. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's what being stoic really is. Not denying your emotions, but sitting next to them on a bench, watching them come and go like strangers passing in a city that never asked your name. You think back to how heavy that door was. It wasn't warning you. It was testing you. And you passed. You wake up earlier now. Not because you have to, but because the silence before the world starts moving feels sacred. You make your coffee slowly, like a ritual, and stare at the ceiling while it brews. No buzzing phone. No meetings to prepare for. No expectations. That's when the guilt hits. Not loud. It's quiet, like a whisper in your ear. What did you just walk away from? Not just power. Not just the career. You turned your back on potential. That word everyone worships. Like it's a promise, not a prison. You remember your friend, let's call him Jonah. He texted the day after you declined the offer. "Bro, are you okay?" You could have changed everything. You didn't reply. Not because you were angry, but because he meant it. And he wasn't wrong. You could have changed everything. But here's what no one talks about. Ambition isn't always noble. Sometimes it's addiction in disguise. The constant thirst for more, approval, status, followers, applause. You weren't chasing meaning. You were chasing noise. You once thought emotion was the enemy, that to be stoic was to be stone. But it's not. Real stoicism isn't ice, it's fire, controlled. It doesn't burn bridges. It illuminates the ones worth crossing. That morning, you sat on your fire escape, coffee in hand, watching the sun hit the rooftops. And you realized you weren't scared of being nobody. You were scared of being you without the mask. Fear has many forms. But this one, it comes wearing your own face. You scroll social media. Jonah posted a photo in front of the office you just walked away from. His caption reads like a victory speech. You don't double tap. You don't judge either. He's playing a game you quit. That doesn't make you enlightened. Just tired of pretending you wanted to win. Then comes the anger. That's the emotion no one warns you about. Not rage, just a quiet pulse of bitterness. Not at them, but at yourself. Why did it take this long to wake up? You remember a moment, years ago. You were 15, maybe 16. Your dad walked into your room and said, "You don't have to be famous to matter." You laughed in his face. Now you'd pay a year's salary to hear that again. You text Jonah back. "Yeah, I'm okay. I just wanted peace." He replies, "Peace doesn't pay rent, bro." And that's the thing. And yet, you didn't walk away because you hated the game. You walked away because it was never your game to begin with. Power had its hooks in you. Not because it felt good, but because it felt safe. Like if you just climbed high enough, no one could hurt you. You wore ambition like armor. And now you feel naked. You read a line by Epictetus that morning. It's not things that disturb us, but our judgment about things. So what if you weren't a CEO? So what if you're not a household name? What if that was never the measure? You go outside. It's windy. You pull your coat tighter and notice a guy yelling into his phone. He's dressed like money, but his eyes look wild. Panic, maybe. Anger, definite. You recognize that look. You used to wear it. That used to be you. Shouting into phones, heart rate spiking over calendar invites, losing sleep over titles. He walks past you without seeing you. And that's when it really hits. No one's watching. There's no audience. No scoreboard. No silent judges tallying your worth. You are free. And yet, that freedom? It's terrifying. It's not fireworks or fanfare. It's empty space. You're no longer performing. There's no script. That night, you lie in bed staring at the ceiling. You think about calling Jonah again. Maybe apologizing. Maybe asking what your fallback plan should be. But you don't. Instead, you breathe. And in that breath, you discover something strange. You're not missing power. You're mourning the version of yourself that believed power was the goal. That grief? It's real, but it's clean. It doesn't rot you. It teaches you. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." You've been imagining yourself as a failure because you stepped off the stage. But in reality, you're finally alive. You didn't expect it to happen at the grocery store, but life's like that, ambushes you with meaning when you're just trying to buy bananas. You're standing in line. Ahead of you, a man is arguing with the cashier. His card declined. He's embarrassed. Angry. Not loud, but the kind of angry where the voice drops an octave and the jaw locks. You know that posture too well. You've worn it in boardrooms. In mirrors. You think about offering to pay. But something tells you not to. Not because you don't care, but because he's not asking. The man mutters something and walks out without the groceries. The cashier exhales. You step up, place your items, and say nothing. But your chest is tight. You're not angry. You're exposed. Shame creeps in. And it wears a different costume this time. It's not about the money. It's about being helpless in the face of someone else's suffering. You walked away from power, yes, but now you feel powerless. And here it comes, the emotion you hadn't prepared for, guilt. You start walking home, bags in hand, and it hits you. This is what no one tells you about choosing peace. It doesn't shield you from feeling. It amplifies it. When you're no longer busy performing, you actually have to listen. You remember a line from Marcus Aurelius. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. You pause at a red light and laugh under your breath. Sure, Marcus. Easier said than done. That night, you can't sleep. You lie in bed with the window open, listening to the city. Your thoughts are a carousel of small regrets. Not catastrophic ones, just little wounds. Conversations you exited too early. Moments you didn't show up for. People you disappointed because you were chasing applause from strangers. That's when the memory hits. Years ago, you were in a suit, shaking hands at a conference. You had rehearsed your smile like it was armor. A woman in the crowd asked you, "Do you believe what you're saying, or are you just good at saying it?" You gave her a charming laugh and a deflection. But deep down, her words burned a hole through your chest. You didn't believe it. Not really. You were a salesman, selling an image of success, selling certainty. And now you have neither. Just mornings and questions and a growing awareness that you don't know who you are without ambition. But maybe that's where it starts. You begin to write again. Not for anyone. Not for claps or clicks. Just you, your thoughts, and an old leather notebook. You write about the man at the grocery store. About your conversation with Jonah. About the version of you that needed to be seen, needed to win. And in those scribbles, something strange emerges. Compassion. Not the fluffy kind. The hard one kind. The kind that understands failure not as a fall, but as a form of freedom. You think about the philosophers. About Seneca, who said, "No man was ever wise by chance." You're not wise yet. Not even close. But you're trying. And trying quietly is enough. A few days later, you pass the same grocery store. You see the same cashier. She remembers you. Smiles. You nod, buy your coffee, and ask about the man. She shrugs. Says he comes in sometimes, never makes trouble. You leave the store with nothing profound to report. No epiphany. No full-circle movie moment. Just stillness. But that stillness? It's louder than applause ever was. You begin to understand what Epictetus meant when he said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." You couldn't control the man's pain. You couldn't fix the world. But you could choose who you are within it. That realization doesn't make you feel heroic. It makes you feel human. You're not the protagonist anymore. You're part of something messier. Slower. You're becoming. And that's more stoic than any podium speech or LinkedIn headline ever was. You walk home through side streets. The wind is sharp. The bags are heavier than you remember. But you don't rush. Because for the first time in years, you're not running from anything. You're walking with it all. You wake up early now, not out of discipline, but curiosity. There's something about the stillness before sunrise that invites honesty. No one's watching. No one's expecting. It's just you and the soft blue hue of morning. You make coffee, not as a ritual of performance, but of presence. And as it brews, you look at your phone. Messages from old colleagues. A few polite "how are yous?" You don't answer. Not yet. You sit by the window, notebook open, pen in hand. Today's question: what are you avoiding by staying comfortable? It's not rhetorical. You know the answer. Not the theatrical kind. The slow-burning grief of identity shed. The loss of status. The speed of always knowing what came next. You remember your father. He was a man of his time. Woke at 5. Never sat still. Never talked about feelings except maybe anger. You watched him age into silence, and now you wonder, did he ever mourn the life he didn't choose? You didn't just walk away from power. You walked away from him. And now, strangely, you feel him more than ever. Not as a ghost, but a question: were you braver than me, or just luckier? The emotion today isn't guilt. It's longing. For approval. For clarity. For something unshakable. But Stoicism doesn't give you absolutes. It hands you a mirror. And you? You stare into it longer now. You revisit that talk with Jonah. You replay it while doing dishes, walking the dog, tying your shoes. And you realize it wasn't a critique. It was a gift. He saw that wasn't cruelty. That was clarity. And clarity, as Marcus Aurelius reminded, is kindness. If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. It is the truth I'm after. You pour that line over everything. Over every relationship, every ambition, every conversation you used to dominate. You don't need to win anymore. You just want to be true. The funny thing about emotions, they don't disappear when you ignore them. They fester. They twist. They haunt. But when you name them, when you say, this is grief, this is fear, this is hope dressed as doubt, they soften. They become stories instead of scars. So you start telling yourself different stories. You walk past your old office. No one notices you. No one cares. And for a moment, that stings. Then strangely it soothes. You were never meant to be remembered. You were meant to be real. You help an old man pick up his groceries from the sidewalk. He doesn't thank you. He just nods. That nod means more than 1,000 standing ovations. Later, you meet someone new. Not romantically. Just a neighbor. She asks what you do. And you say, I'm learning how to be still. She laughs. Thinks you're joking. You don't correct her. Because the truth is absurd. And gentle. And quiet. And it's okay if no one gets it but you. You start volunteering at a shelter. Not because it makes you feel useful, but because you stopped needing a reason for kindness. One night, a boy there asks if you were ever famous. You shrug. He asks what you used to do. You pause. Then answer, I used to pretend I had all the answers. He doesn't get it. He runs off. You smile. Because that boy reminded you of something vital. You're not here to be understood. You're here to understand. And maybe that's the Stoic path no one markets. Not the podcast. Not the memes. Not the polished books with black and gold covers. The real Stoic path isn't sexy. It's invisible. It's how you choose to respond when no one's watching. When no one's grading your serenity. It's the discipline to feel fully, but not be ruled by the feeling. Like Seneca wrote, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. You're beginning to see how much of your old life was imagined. How many battles were shadow fights against ghosts of your own ego? How many decisions were fear in a tuxedo? Now you wake up and ask, what am I clinging to that no longer serves me? Sometimes the answer is simple, a story, a grudge, a fantasy. Other times it's harder, a person, a dream. But every time you let go, the world doesn't fall apart. You don't fall apart. You find a softness inside you that isn't weakness. It's strength without armor. And that, you're learning, is rarer than any award. There's something strangely tender about losing everything you thought made you important. Not the dramatic kind of loss. The bankruptcy, the betrayal, the public downfall. What you lost was more invisible, less headline-worthy. You lost the illusion of control. And for the first time, it doesn't terrify you. You take long walks now. Not for exercise. Not for goals. Just to see what the sky's doing. To watch how the trees aren't in a rush. To hear the silence under the noise. One day it hits you. You've become unrecognizable to your old self. And yet, somehow more yourself than ever. You see an ad on a bus. It's for a leadership seminar. The slogan says, become unstoppable. You almost laugh. Because you used to be that ad. And now, your highest aim is not to be unstoppable, but to be willing to stop. To sit. To listen. To surrender. It's ironic. The man who once had to be first in every room now finds joy in holding the door. You remember something Epictetus said, almost like a whisper from another lifetime. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. You used to recite that quote to others, colleagues, ments, even on stage. It sounded good, authoritative. Now you say it to yourself while folding laundry, and it lands deeper. You're invited to speak at a panel. Old friends, big names, bright lights. There's even a private jet involved. You decline, not because you hate them, not because you're bitter, but because you know the part of you that would have said yes isn't in charge anymore. And this refusal feels more powerful than any speech you've ever given. You still miss the applause sometimes. Let's be honest. But you don't need it anymore. You don't depend on it to remember your worth. Because you've learned something precious. Peace isn't earned. It's allowed. You mentor a young man now. He reminds you of yourself years ago, hungry, sharp, restless. He asks you for advice on how to win, how to lead, how to outmaneuver. And you pause. Try losing. Intentionally. Then see who you are without the trophy. He doesn't get it. But one day he will. Because the most powerful men aren't the ones who win every battle. They're the ones who don't need to fight at all. You spend more time with your mother now. She tells you stories you never knew she remembered. You laugh more. Cry more too, but quietly. No grand displays. Just a soft tremble when she says, "I'm proud of you." Not for what you've done, but for how you've changed. And that breaks something open. You sit with it. You let it wash over you. And you think of all the times you ignored her calls back when you were important. How you rescheduled birthdays. Missed funerals. Because your name had to be on the next marquee. But she forgives you. Not with words. With time. With tea made just the way you like it. With a hand that rests on yours longer than needed. And in that silence, you feel a new kind of success. The kind that doesn't sparkle, but roots. You realize the Stoic life isn't the absence of emotion. It's the acceptance of it. It's learning to cry without collapsing. To feel without flinching. To hope without attachment. And it's not easy. Some days you still ache. Still wonder if you made the right choice. Still scroll through photos of the life that used to be yours. But then you look up. And there's the sky again, wide, patient, indifferent. Like Marcus wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. And you have not the loud strength of ambition, but the quiet strength of a man who has nothing left to prove. So now when they ask what you do, you say, I breathe, I listen, I live simply, I let go. And sometimes they laugh. Sometimes they nod. Sometimes they walk away. It doesn't matter, because you're no longer performing. You're practicing. Practicing being human, with all its flaws, its pain, its astonishing beauty. You're not a guru, not a master, not a Stoic statue carved in marble. You're just a man. One who walked away from power and found something better. The sky is turning soft now. Not dramatic, just quieter. Like it's exhaling, and you too begin to soften. The story's over, but something lingers, like dust in a room where no one's spoken for hours. You feel it, don't you? That subtle shift, that ache in the chest that isn't pain, but something older, like recognition. Because maybe this wasn't just his story. Maybe you saw a little too much of yourself in it. The need to win, the chase, the hunger to matter, and maybe, just maybe, you're also ready to walk away. Not from life, not from love, but from the performance. Because you're tired, deeply, not just in the bones, but in the soul. And there's a kind of beauty in that exhaustion. A signal that it's time to set down the armor. No more proving, no more chasing applause. Just stillness. You don't have to have it all figured out. Stoicism was never about being perfect. It was about showing up to your own life. Even in the silence, even in the mess, especially in the letting go. So tonight, maybe you close your eyes slower, breathe deeper, let go of one tiny thing you thought you needed, and when you wake up tomorrow, maybe, just maybe, you'll take one quiet step away from power and toward peace. No one needs to know, just you. That's enough. So tell me, what are you willing to walk away from today? If this story made you think, feel, or breathe a little deeper, like, sub, and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your answer.